That was the only change then?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just follow that. Roll call, please.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Here.
Councilmembers Della Ripa.
Here.
Costa.
Here.
D'Amato. Here. Hudson.
Present.
Sondermeyer.
Present.
Councilman Yazdi is excused from the meeting this evening.
Also with us are our municipal clerk, Jane McCarthy, and our borough attorney, Fred Semrau. This is an official meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale on December 12, 2014. The date, time, and place of this meeting was faxed and mailed to all local news media, posted here at Borough Hall. There's no need for an early executive session. We will have two non-agenda items the public wishes to speak to. Number one is the renewal of the Fireman Inc. Fire Hall liquor license. And item two, I'd be asking the council to consider an introduction of an ordinance to change zoning to not allow pipelines in various zones, and we're going to have a presentation on that in a moment. So those would be the two non-agenda items. I'm sorry.
I think there were two executive session minutes in the book under non-agenda.
Two executive session minutes to be adopted. Okay, then that's fine. We'll add those to the consent agenda. Okay. At this time, I'd like to introduce Greg Goldner. Is that how you pronounce it, Greg? Gellner, a Bloomingdale resident, and his guests. If you guys would come up to the microphones, you can have a seat, you can stand, whatever you're more comfortable with. Greg had reached out to me. He is involved in a group opposing the Pilgrim Pipeline. The borough, the governing body has already done a resolution opposing such. And in a brief email conversation with Greg, he asked if he can come speak to it and ask the borough to consider, as many other municipalities have, an ordinance changing zoning to prohibit it as well. So if you just please state your name, both of you, for the record, and your address, and then we'll go from there.
I'm Greg Gellner. I'm a resident of Bloomingdale for 34 years, and I'm presently working with the Coalition Against the Pilgrim Pipeline in opposition to a pipeline that would carry crude oil from a distribution center in Albany, New York, to the Bayway Refinery in Linden, New Jersey. This pipeline would pass through 35 towns in New Jersey, and locally that includes Wanacue, Pompton Lakes, and Bloomingdale. Bloomingdale has already passed a resolution against the pipeline, and what we'd like is to see Bloomingdale pass an ordinance, since the ordinance carries much more legal authority. And what I'd like to do is read a brief statement. Hazardous material pipelines, including oil lines, are unregulated as there are no federal or state regulatory bodies or processes that control siting of these pipelines. The Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration regulates oil pipeline safety, including construction, and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission regulates oil pipeline commerce. Neither regulates pipeline siting. The Coalition Against the Pilgrim Pipeline attorney and the Eastern Environmental Law Center have stated that municipalities have been delegated wide-ranging authority to enact ordinances to protect the welfare of their residents regarding land usage by the New Jersey legislature under the Municipal Land Use Law. This intent, plus the lack of any other regulatory bodies, means municipalities have a high degree of control over oil pipeline siting. Therefore, CAP developed ordinance language prohibiting unregulated pipelines that do not benefit local communities. Even if a pipeline company were to obtain power of eminent domain, they still have to comply with zoning laws, according to the CAP attorney. 4 other municipalities have passed this ordinance in New Jersey as a means of protecting themselves from these types of pipelines. While this has been precipitated by the current threat, municipalities should consider the current rate of energy infrastructure growth in the U.S. and take this action to ensure that they have long-term control over their land usage. Without ordinances, towns have very little means of protecting themselves. This is simply a prudent measure that every town should consider, whether it is threatened today or not. It is important to pass this ordinance before a pipeline company files for permits, as this will appear to be discriminatory if filed afterwards. It is also important to file this ordinance before the pipeline process has gone too far, as the pipeline company could be grandfathered on the basis that it had already committed substantial resources such as surveying and obtaining easement agreements. In other words, timing is important and sooner is better. If you should wish to speak to attorneys or township officials in other towns that have passed similar ordinances, in particular Parsippany, please let us know. The CAP attorney is also available for consultation. It should also be noted that municipalities need factual reasons for passing ordinances and should provide evidence that ordinances are needed. Basically, they need to back up their logic and claims in order to not be subject to arguments that they are unreasonably constraining commerce. Therefore, the coalition will prepare several documents that provide the evidence and rationale for prohibiting unregulated hazardous material pipelines and wishes to make these part of the record associated with passing this ordinance. These will address the three areas zoning ordinances can protect. Number 1, property values. Number 2, public health. Number 3, the environment. Thank you very much for considering this ordinance. We would like to see this ordinance on the next Town Council agenda for a first reading. We look forward to working with you to support its passage. Thank you.
Greg, thank you very much.
Okay.
Sir, did you want to add anything?
I'm Ken Delsky, Parsippany, New Jersey, and I think that pretty much covers it. I will say, in some recent conversations that I've had in other towns where there was concern about lawsuits, involving this, our attorney has basically said that if a pipeline company wants to come and build in your town, they're probably going to have to come and ask for some kind of permit or variance, and unless you want to roll over completely and just give them total freedom, and if you want to fight them, and you would try to oppose them using your current zoning laws, that you're probably going to be in a lawsuit anyway. And you're much better off having a well-thought-out ordinance with a lot of the backup material that we're going to provide that gives you more power to resist. Zoning ordinances do seem to have, are very defendable, and this would put, I believe, based on what I've been told by our attorney, put any town in a better position to resist if they want to. And if you have a number of towns that have very similar ordinances, then if Pilgrim Pipeline or any other pipeline decides that they want to bring lawsuits, you could get together as the multiple towns, share legal expenses and share legal resources. So there's a lot of advantages if you're going to fight this pipeline to doing it together rather than by yourselves.
Okay, thank you. Fred, do you have anything to add as our borough attorney?
I've seen this ordinance in some other municipalities at this point, and we've drafted one, consistent with this request. And I think it's a fair statement to say that it may in fact be a tool going forward to give you, as a governing body and a municipality, some additional say or even some additional teeth from a standpoint of planning and guidance. So I don't see a downside from a legal perspective. I think it's true. If an application gets filed or if the project in any way gets filed and it demonstrates that the line is going through the borough and then you adopt the ordinance, it becomes a much bigger hill or hurdle to overcome. So if the governing body is interested in doing this, I would say to do it sooner than later.
Right. Okay. Does any council member have anything? Well, what I'd like to do first is thank you both for coming, and I'd like to introduce by title the ordinance to start the clock with a second final reading in October 20th, giving us plenty of time, because I have to refer to our planning board, because it's zoning, as well as our ordinance review committee, and I have the samples from Watchung and the various towns that you've supplied to review that with our attorney. Greg, I have your contact information. If Fred needs anything, we can work together. But being it was a non-agenda item, normally what I do is allow public comment on any non-agenda items. So there would be a public hearing on the second and final reading of this ordinance, but what I would like to do is a little out of order here, is first ask, as I stated earlier, there was 2 non-agenda items. The liquor license we'll do later, and now this introduction by title for zoning ordinance to prohibit pipelines in Bloomingdale. And I'd ask the public, does anyone wish, because just to be fair, I'm doing this out of order, does anyone wish to speak to that? If anyone could just show by raise of hand, I'll give you that opportunity. And again, there is a second final reading in October, so you will have that opportunity again. But just in fairness, it's non-agenda. Is anyone? Okay. So seeing no one, what I would like the council to do this evening is introduce by title ordinance 17-2005, an ordinance to modify borough zoning to prohibit pipelines in the borough of Bloomingdale. And we'll fine-tune that as we develop the ordinance for final adoption. Second and final reading, October 20th. Jane, that is our second meeting in October, correct? You said 2005. First and third, right? Okay. You have any? Well, let me ask for a motion first.
So moved?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Della Ripa, seconded by Dawn Hudson. Any comment?
Just,
Yes?
is this specific to oil pipelines or any pipelines of any type? Because it could affect gas
Right.
company?
Yeah,
It could
yeah,
affect,
No, I think it's going to be specific to this type of pipeline, I would say, based on the one that we've already prepared. It wouldn't affect anything that's existing in the borough.
If I could interject.
please.
The focus is unregulated pipelines.
Right.
okay.
You know, if it's a gas line that's regulated by FERC from cradle to grave, water is local or whatever, sewer, whatever. Oil is unique in that there's simply a void in terms of any regulatory bodies that control the siting of it. And that's all that you can regulate here. You can't regulate safety of it, but you can regulate the siting, location of it.
Again, just to read an excerpt from Watchung's, that's just a section of it states, whereas because these pipelines are not public utilities that distribute services to end users and are unregulated by the Board of Public Utilities, there's limited accountability to the public, just to give you an idea. And again, I'm just introducing by title. We'll craft it, we'll fine-tune it with attorney review, planning board review, and our ordinance review committee. But I wanted to start the clock with the introduction by title. Is there any further comment? So if I can have a roll call, please.
Councilmembers Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Della Ripa.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondermeyer.
Yes.
It is introduced.
Great.
All right, so I'll be in touch, Greg, as we
Okay,
develop
thank you.
it, just to make sure we got all the
Very good.
points.
Okay.
Thank you both. Okay, now I need a motion for early public comment. Who makes that motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to an agenda item, please come on up, state your name and address for the record.
Linda Huntley, 86 Van Dam. The fall cleanup, when is that being held?
The river cleanup?
Well, the fall cleanup?
Fall?
Yeah.
Well, we usually do our spring big one and then a river cleanup. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
The river cleanup is scheduled for August 22nd, although I normally sponsor that for the Pequannock River Coalition, who I've reached out to, and they've declined to do it this year. So every participant for the last 10 years have been members of the Pequannock River Coalition who clean the river. And they have declined. They decided, the exact response was their board of directors decided not to do it this year.
So there'll be no fall cleanup?
There'll be no river cleanup. There never was a fall cleanup. We've never had a fall cleanup. I've had, other than various groups might do a little cleanup projects for me, but never a town-wide fall cleanup. We've done the May cleanup and a river cleanup. And this year's, which has been advertised on the public events calendar, as it has for many years, was, again, sponsored by Clean Communities for the Pequannock River Coalition, and they've declined to do it this year. So hopefully we'll resume next year.
So there will not be one this year?
Correct.
So then how come there's a number of entities that are getting contributions from the town for this fall cleanup, if there is none?
Well, no, there's no town fall cleanup. On the bills list tonight is a $1,000 donation to BBYC. They get a $1,000 donation every year. They host 32 games at DeLazier Field, and they clean the field after each and every game from September, well, actually from now, August, until November. So that's the donation they get.
So if I go to a football game, I will see them cleaning up after the game?
Absolutely, every game. And if not, you let me
That-
know.
And what about the other $500? I saw one for,
That wasn't for fall. That was for an extreme
Said
baseball
fall.
team, 14U team, who did cleanups in the month of July. I'll have to talk to Sherry why she worded it fall. That was a cleanup during the All-Star Series and.
And
at the
don't
Leisure.
we have to have a full cleanup? Don't you have to have 2 cleanups?
No.
For under clean communities?
No, you do not.
I think you should look at that.
Oh, yeah, okay. I will, but I'm sure we do not have to have.
Can I address something from the letter from the mayor for the taxes?
It's not an agenda item, but I'm fine with that. Council members?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, in your letter, you're stating that it's important to point out that the borough received the full pilot tax payment from Avalon Bay of $450,000. Well, according to the budget, the only amount that you put in there was $414,000.
The total, my letter refers to the total amount after the land tax, but doesn't
Which should be
consideration the 5% from the county?
$449,663.50 is what it should be.
Okay,
But
so,
it's $414. Where's the other $35,663.50?
Again, based on the pilot agreement, we get X minus land tax, so that's the number I used in my letter. So we have realized the full pilot, but then you have 5% to the county. So as a revenue to the borough, it's the 414 as far as the net revenue, because the county gets their piece.
Well, if it's 5%, 10% is 44,000, so then it would be more than the
I'd have to check with
14.
finance why it's, off a few, but whatever it is, it is what it is.
Okay, also, I question how you determined that, the pilot program, if you didn't have it, that the taxes would have increased in excess of $300 per the assessed value. How is that determined?
Actually, that number came directly from our auditor when he was asked if we didn't have that 400,000 in revenue, what would be the impact to the budget? And that was the impact.
But how could that have been? That would have been going above the 2% cap.
Rich, you want to help me here on this? I mean,
Oh, no, other than what you said?
Right.
No, I mean,
yeah. The point of no, it wouldn't affect 2% cap. If
Yes,
we
it would,
didn't have,
Because you only would have been able to increase the taxes by another $100,000, and that would have not equaled.
math equals the amount of money from the pilot. If we didn't have the pilot, we would have needed to make up that revenue. And that would have been
Or
based on the.
decrease your expenses.
Well, right, or cut, if you found something to cut. We did decrease expenses by $250,000. When we sat down the budget, the expenses were a total about $350, the budget was $115 overall increase. So things were cut, were reduced.
Yes, but still, you would not have, there would no way there was going to be a $300 tax increase. It couldn't have happened because you would have been above the cap. You couldn't have done that.
That information was asked of the auditor, and that's the information that was supplied.
But did you ask if that was going to be above the cap, if that would have affected, or you didn't?
The question asked was, what would be the impact if we didn't have that revenue? And that's the answer.
That would not have been the impact because you couldn't have done that.
I can argue.
Okay.
Yeah, but that wasn't even, the discussion was, if you didn't have it, how much would it have been? We didn't have to face that reality, whether we would have had a cut or go to the DCA
Well,
for an
I'm just
extension.
questioning your letter because
Right.
I think this is misleading.
Again, it's a fact that that's
It's
what.
not a fact.
That's what taxes would have gone up if you didn't have that revenue.
They would not have been able to have gone up that amount because that would have been above the cap and you would not have been permitted to do so. Is that not correct, or you're
But if
saying
that
that you
were the
don't have to?
case, then isn't what that's saying is, if you couldn't do that, you'd have to cut services to residents.
Or cut your expenses in some way, yes.
We cut services
Not
potentially to
necessarily, because
residents.
there are certain, well, I mean,
And
I
I don't
look
know
at the
if that
budget.
number includes the fact that if you didn't have the pilot, you would probably cost you another $100,000 for municipal services there, because there's no municipal services.
Well, right, I mean, you're just looking at the money part of the pilot. Remember, we don't have to pay for garbage, snowplow, so there's those factors too, so.
Yeah, but the pilot is only, I mean, well, it specifically states in our ordinance that no funding from a pilot agreement shall be utilized to support new projects, programs, or staffing of the borough, as this funding shall be dedicated 100% to reduce the overall tax level of the levy of the borough of Bloomingdale. Now, I know there's additional monies that are included in this budget, so I don't know if you did if there was any kind of calculation that was done to determine that you were using the pilot program appropriately?
Well, it's absolutely being
funding?
used appropriately. It's a revenue that has helped stabilize the tax. That's a fact. Cannot dispute.
But it can't just do that if you have additional items that are going in there that cannot be used to offset the budget. I mean, you're supposed to be reducing taxes, and you're not reducing taxes. You're not paying off debt. Nothing is being done as
Debt,
was.
debt is down. That's not a true statement.
No, actually, our debt payment this year is less than it was last year,
Overall debt,
which was less than it was the
overall debt is down. I don't have the numbers in front of me, because again, it's a non-agenda item. Overall debt is down. I mean, was that in my letter? A period of time, last 3 years, it's down $1 million something overall debt.
Well, it's kind of weird because if you look at the amount of payments that were made for debt, let's say 2012, the total payments was $1,244,000. In 2013, $1,206,000. In 2013, $1,134,000, and this year it's $1,087,000. It just keeps going down how much debt is being paid off. You're only paying off the requirement.
Isn't it?
Your overall debt is going down.
The overall debt is not going down. That's how you still look at it, because you're looking at...
Look at our debt statement. Look at our debt statement for
I
2012,
do look at the debt statement,
13,
but
14.
you've got- yes,
It has
but-
reduced by $1 million.
But you're looking at also at items that were authorized and not funded, and you can't consider
That's
that.
our debt. Whatever.
No, it's not. If it's not funded, it's not debt. If you didn't take out the bond, it's not debt. If you don't have to pay it back, it's not debt. Just because it was authorized to take money out doesn't mean it did.
Our annual financial debt statement, prepared by our auditors, is the debt of the borough, and that has reduced over $1 million in 3 years.
Okay, I'll talk to you at the end. Last public comments, I'll have that information. I'll show you where I disagree again.
Anyone else, please? Agenda items. Seeing no one, motion to close.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Reports. Jane, do you have anything for us?
Nothing, well, we will be reporting on the candlelight walk. Butler is meeting this evening, so we'll determine which way we're going.
It's also okay. First before we get home. It's going to hurt your crowd, so we'll talk about that. Okay. Anything else? You good?
I'm good. Thank you.
Fred, anything for us?
Mayor, we continue with the complaint for the declaratory judgment. Everything's in order at this point in time, and we've also filed our motion seeking protection or immunity along with other municipalities
For the affordable housing.
for affordable housing for right now, while the borough works to prepare its third round plan. And the foreclosures are a major step forward, so I believe we're going to have those wrapped up this fall. So, at that point, you'll be in a position to take ownership, take them off the tax rolls as uncollectibles and put them out for sale if you so choose.
Great.
And that's it. And then the only other thing is we continue with the Ehrenberg litigation, and I say respectfully, the claim alleges that Linda Huntley and the mayor are in conspiracy for things. So I think all these debates are perfect evidence for our court case, and I think you both would agree on that. And
I think
that's my
the only thing
report.
we agree on.
That's my report. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Any council member have anything?
Just sad to see Gail Galbraith
Yes.
put her notice in.
Yes.
She'll be leaving us in about a month or so.
Yeah, that's on the agenda. Yeah, Gail, I want to recognize Gail on September 22nd at that meeting for all her service to the borough, almost 15 years, as our rec director, and she's retiring to Florida, but she'll be back. Her family's here, her grandkids are here, but she is going to stay on through the end of October and train whomever we hire. We are interviewing next week, myself, the rec president, and Councilman Sondermeyer, and then we'll bring it to the council for a replacement. But yes, thanks for bringing that up, and she served the borough well. We owe her a lot of thanks and gratitude, and we'll recognize her on this 22nd. Anyone else have anything?
At the Board of Ed, they mentioned, and I believe I talked to you, that we are we're assisting them in a grant that they're pursuing.
Yes, yes.
So I just wanted to mention that, there's a joint effort between them and a couple other entities to get some grants into the
It's a
Board of
work-type
Education. Yeah.
program where there's no financial obligation on the borough, but the Board of Ed is seeking a grant money to help fund. An example would be someone interested in finance. We would actually place them in the borough to shadow or work in the borough. If someone's interested in, any form of municipal government, we would help the Board of Ed by allowing students to come in and shadow in the various fields. So assuming they get the grant, we're going to move and help them do that. thanks for bringing that up. Anyone else?
Just, Fire department is hosting their third annual Bob Koska 5K this year, and also a car cruise night the night before at the Walter T. Bergen School, which will be the 25th and the 26th. It's a Friday and Saturday. If anybody has cars they want to show up, motorcycles, it's no cost. It's just an event that Bob is very much into hot rods and cars, so we are doing it in his honor. Last year we had about 100 cars come up to show. Anywhere from brand new Mustang clubs to old time Model A's to some things you didn't even recognize that they were cars people just built. Some real nice motorcycles. So there'll be food and music, and the next day will be the 5K race again. So the banners are up. We're kicking it off. This will be our third year, and we're over $35,000 donated to the Les Garden Foundation in the last 2 years, which is really great in Bob's honor. So we're between the fire department and police department, it's a great thing.
Okay, yeah.
John, can you just make a note to get me those flyers so I can get them up on the town's Facebook page, please?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
I have them with me.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? I just have a couple items. We've concluded the leak study for our water department, and I received the final study, which I just received yesterday, so I will analyze it and then have a meeting with FSC, Leak Detection Company. But in a nutshell, last year I'd done an analysis on water we buy versus water we bill, and there was a large discrepancy between those two, and the DEP says 10 to 15% is an average for lost water. You're going to have some outflow or infiltration or problems or just hydrant flushing and the like. But our numbers were considerably higher than that. So we spent $9,000 on a leak study. We found a total of 9 leaks to the tune of recovering in excess of 90 million gallons of water per year, which will equate to approximately $100,000 in revenue, or lost revenue. So at our next billing in October, I should be able to see from Passaic Valley Water the comparison from our last quarter, and we should see a drastic reduction. And for my calculations, we were losing roughly $120,000 to $140,000 worth of billable water, which I'm confident we recouped, and we should help maintain our rates as high as they already are, but help maintain them where they are and bring that revenue back to the utility. So that was a great project, and I thank our utility department because all the repairs were done by our staff. When the leak was found, they were repaired by our staff the same day. So it was a great project and a great result that I'll share with you actual numbers once they come in. The other item is last Tuesday, the Freeholder Board. We hosted here at Bloomingdale a Freeholder meeting. It's very well attended. It was a really good meeting. They recognized 2 local business owners, Lanive Automotive and Van Riper Electric, as business appreciation recipients. And Lanive was here, and I delivered Van Riper's. Plus, then they did West Milford, Ringwood, and a couple businesses there. But very importantly, they awarded the borough $99,000 for our drainage project at the Walter T. Bergen School. So I will meet with the engineer and fine tune. That our submission was greater than that, but we'll probably end up doing one side of the field in the spring, and then apply for the second phase, which was always our plan. So that was a good day Jane was present, Councilman Della Ripa, who was a big help with the audio and visual for the county. So we thank you, Rich, and Councilman Sotomayor was there as well. And I thought it was a great meeting.
Yeah.
It was a real good meeting. And then they were kind enough to present what you see on the easels throughout the borough, historic map of the county, which is kind of neat. What they funded overall in the borough, various projects through recreation. And then out in the hallway is Friendship Park, the improvements they made to the park they own within our borough. So that was a successful meeting. They were very appreciative of our hospitality. And, of course, we were appreciative of the $99,000 award.
But if I remember, we still can't cash that check, right?
You can't cash that. They don't make deposit slips big enough. I tried. No,
Well, no, because they still have
But that
their-
night, they ended up authorizing it, didn't they?
No, I thought there was still the 45-day.
Right, so we can't spend the money until they get a formal,
Right.
thing, but we're getting our $99,000. I'm sorry?
Can't take a picture of them deposit?
Well, actually, Jane was here, and my guy was like, Jane, get a deposit slip, we're out of here. So, it was fun. Just update on projects, the Leisure Grandstands, again, 95% done. We have a change order this evening. Left, there's some handrails, some minor fencing, and some limestone capping on some areas of it. But if you haven't seen it, you have to see it. It looks wonderful. It's actually saved the grandstands and hopefully added 20 years to its life, or at a minimum. So I'd ask you to go look at it. Walter T. Bergen walking track started this past Saturday. It'll be completed by next Friday. All the other paving in town is also starting now, including the Board of Ed, the parking lot at the Martha B. Day, and all our town road paving is going to, contractor's here, he's going to stay. I know it frustrates me that, you have all summer, but, our funding's in place by June, contractor's busy elsewhere, we finally got him here, and of course, school opens, and people say, well, what are you, crazy, why didn't you pave in the summer? So he'll be conscious of that, maybe not pave the first week of school opening, so we don't have the craziness of traffic and whatnot, but we got to get it done. Star Lake, all the lines are being cameraed, as well as Ryerson's, for that to go out to bid shortly. And what we're going to do on Ryerson and Star Lake, they will be, the stormwater, water, laterals, and all that part will be done before winter, but the paving will not be done until the spring on Ryerson and Star Lake. Sloan Park, actually conference call Thursday, hoping we're there, and we get our permit hopefully in the next couple weeks, and we can maybe go out to bid before the winter on that project. Again, I've said that for the last 3 years too, though, but we're at the mercy of the DEP. And then John mentioned the 5K run, which ties in with Pride Day. Pride Day is September 26th, 12 to 5 at the Leisure, rain date Sunday, the 27th, and it's been marketed out there, banners are up, but vendors, any interested vendors, local businesses, there's no fee for local businesses to participate. Anyone, just contact me if they're interested in having a table. So that's what I have at this time. Moving along, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
And B will be 8.1.
I'm sorry, item B will be 8.1, resolution, moved by Dawn, I believe.
Yes.
Second, anyone?
Second?
Discussion? Again, you could simply see their minutes approval, but the last item is our bond counsel has joined the firm of Waters, McPherson, and McNeil, honoring the terms of our contract through the end of the year, and then we'll revisit that in the new year, but all stay status quo. Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Pending items. First item is the adoption resolution 2015 8.2, a change order for GL Group that pertains to the Leisure grandstand work in the amount of $16,700. This is still within, our contract price and the money we have available, that is, for the project. So who makes that motion?
So moved?
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers D'Amato.
Yes.
Della Ripa.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
The next item, it's under pending, and it is in a sense, although it's also new. We are introducing ordinance 18-2015, the certificate of occupancy, continued occupancy for commercial, industrial, residential properties. If you recall, we did this previously, but we ended up moving the wrong piece of the ordinance. We moved the CCO pertaining to a construction of homes, and that's already covered in our permit process. This is changing the ordinance that requires certified check or cash for a CCO, because this is the one where people are selling and moving, and they pay for the final inspection for fire and the like. And there's been an instance where there's been a bounce check, and it's hard to recover that from a person who's now moved. So this will solve that problem. So I need a motion to introduce 18-2015 with second and final reading. Jane, when do you want to do that? September
The second meeting?
22nd?
Right.
That's fine. Second and final reading, 9/22. I'm sorry, who makes that motion?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Della Ripa.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
And that would be an ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale and the County of Passaic and State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 11, Buildings and Housing, Section 11-1.6, Certificate of a Continued Occupancy for commercial, industrial, and residential premises of the Code of the Borough of Bloomingdale.
Thank you, Jane. And the final pending item is authorization to rebid Dodge Ram truck. We authorized on this year's budget a new pickup truck, and we did go out to bid, and we received no bids. So I want authorization to rebid. I just think it was time of year and whatnot. The reason we're doing bid versus, there's no state contract currently offering this particular truck. It's a smaller pickup truck. To date, we haven't found a co-op doing it. So we're trying to bid so we can get the specific Dodge. So I need a motion to authorize the rebidding so Jane can advertise and see if we don't have success, then we'll have to revisit it with state contract or a different make and model, whichever. So I need a motion to authorize that.
So moved.
Rich, thank you. And a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So Jane, we can put that out one, and you just got to advise the mechanic when the dates are not. Thank you. New business. First item is I need a motion to accept the resignation of Gail Galbraith, our rec director. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Need a second?
If we don't author
So
it.
moved.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, we don't authorize. Again, we talked about it earlier. Again, we'll praise Gail and thank her personally. And I'd ask to, try to have people come. I want to have kids come. She's been a great asset. She developed a lot of new programs in our rec commission. She developed the Kids Who Care program. She's run our summer camp, and she's done an outstanding job. And will be missed. So, again, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And now, payment of the bills, 2015 8.3. Who makes the motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Hudson,
Yes.
Sandemeyer,
Yes.
Costa,
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Della Ripa.
Yes.
Next item is I need a motion to appoint Lynn Ferrara to the Library Board of Trustees, 5-year unexpired term expiring 12/31/15, and I'm sure she'll be reappointed at that point. Who makes that motion first, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Other than Lynn will be an incredible asset to the library board. We have a great board now, and we had some people recently resign who've been there for many years. And if you don't know Lynn, I think most of you do know Lynn, she will just be a great asset. She's a very bright woman. She's just going to bring a lot to this board. So we thank her for willingness to serve. Any further discussion? Do you want a roll call? All in favor, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is I need a motion for Resolution 15 8.4 to authorizing myself and Jane to auction off various vehicles that are already defunct in our fleet. And you can see the list was provided in your book. There's a public auction on a 2001 Ford. That's the old ACO van. And the rest are old construction vehicles, construction office vehicles, Crown Victoria 1997, 94, and the old Mason dump. Again, beyond their lives, shot, done, but by the rules, we need to offer it through resolution and then by auction. And got to clean up the yard a little bit. So, do I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
It has to be by auction?
It has to be by auction initially, yes. And if we don't sell them in auction, then we can offer to, anyone who might be interested. Unless it's declared zero value, it's kind of gray area. It's like we have in the past, we had a trailer worth zero, and we sold it. I think one of our DPW guys bought it for $50 kind of thing. But anything that, it's they have values of $700,000, $800,000, $1,500. You have to do it this way. And if usually they go, some of these are leftovers from last auction, they didn't go. And then we just figured get through the summer, and now we're reauthorizing to do it. And we'll see what happens. So do I have a second on that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just looking, if it doesn't sell at the auction, I don't know, in the past, we gave them away for $50, $100, whatever it was.
Right.
There is a company out there in Oak Ridge, I'll get you information, that I double checked with after we got rid of the last cars, that
Okay.
was willing to give us more money than what we sold it for, so
Okay.
I'll give you
No,
that
give me
information.
that information immediately. Sure. And again, as long as they pick it up, right? Because we
Yeah,
don't,
no, they come
we
and
don't want
get
to
it.
get $100 in cost and have to drive it to
Nope.
Trenton.
And all they need is the VIN number, the mileage, and the year, that's all they
Okay.
go on,
All right, we'll see. But this way, we have to go this way first. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excuse me one second. Accept his retirement. And the plans, the settlement agreements. Right, it's all the people. Right, okay. All right, because what I want to do is that before we do the next one. On the agenda, the next item is hiring of a new police officer. But before I take action, that's why I asked Jane, we have an officer retiring, and Jane had... That's fine, that's fine. I'm not going to disclose terms, I mean, that's, you know... All right, so I'm going to go a little out of order here. So we're going to...
Do we need to table that until after
No,
executive?
no, I need a...
Okay.
No, not at all, because it's contractual. I need a motion to accept the retirement, effective 12/31, of 2015 of Mark Johnson. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Again, other than Mark, incredible asset. He came from North Bergen. He was already in the police. This is before any of our time. And the borough hired him from North Bergen. But what a great police officer, as all our guys are. But he just was a standout, and he's going to be sorely missed. You know, we can only wish him well. But I'm hoping to have him in before the end of the year as a formal congratulatory moment for him as he retires from the borough. But all we can do now is just thank him profusely for his service, which has been outstanding to the borough. Do you want a roll call? Let's do a formal. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sondemire?
Yes.
Costa?
Yes.
D'Amato?
Yes.
Della Ripa?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Okay, so now back to the agenda, so I'll call the next item F. I need resolution 15-8.5, hiring, authorization to hire a new police officer, which would be effective immediately. The chief would like him to graduate the academy in a Bloomingdale uniform. We had a full year salary budgeted for an officer, so there's the money's there to pay his salary and outfitting. So I'd ask that it would be effective August 18th of 2015, and I'd be asking you to appoint Conrad Jimenez, a 24-year-old top graduate from the academy. Strong recommendation from both our chief and our public health and safety committee. Again, it's going to be a great addition to the borough. So who makes that motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Costa?
Yes.
D'Amato?
Yes.
Della Ripa?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Sondemire?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item, introduction of ordinance 19-2015, amending reappropriation ordinance 14-2015. All we're doing here, just bear with me. If you recall, last meeting, or a few meetings ago, we amended, we had an old vehicle ordinance where we amended about $20,000 to do a new rack body on a rusted out truck and then and liners for all the pickup trucks. Well, what finance realized after we did that is that ordinance was already canceled in our ordinance we've done in the beginning of the year for road paving, fireman outfit, equipment, etc. So all we're doing is amending that to allow that same amount of money to be used for the vehicle purposes. So the one we amended means nothing because it was already gone into the one we did at the beginning of the year. So the ordinance that we did, which was 14/2015, we adopted in June, which was for our road paving ordinance. That was all road paving. That was not new. The fire equipment and vehicles was new funding. This was all road paving. We're amending this ordinance to allow that piece, that $20,000, to be used for the rack body, the rotted truck part, and the lining, other things. So we're not changing anything other than the one was already canceled, so we need to amend the one we adopted in June. So I see puzzled faces. And I said to Sherry, I said, I got a tough one explaining this, but.
So where's the 20 coming from? From the one we amended?
Yes, it was already done in the ordinance.
Right.
So when when finance said, hey, we need this pickup truck bed rotted, here's where we can get the funding. Last meeting, we did an ordinance to find that funding. Well, that was already canceled, already a part of this. So now we're amending the original bond to allow use of that 20,000 for that use, which takes 20,000 out of roads, but we always have contingencies, so we'll be fine having enough to pave roads. That's all. So it's an introduction, amending that reappropriation of 2015. It's not adding, it's not increasing, it's doing nothing but amending it to allow that portion to be used for the vehicle beds and liners. Okay, so do I have a motion for that confusing topic?
So moved?
Second.
Any further discussion? Nothing's changing,
Other than the purpose.
other than the purpose. Right. Second and final reading, as soon as we can. September 8th, please. Roll call, please.
Councilmembers D'Amato.
Yes.
Della Ripa.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sandemeyer.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
And that would be an ordinance amending reappropriation ordinance number 14-2015, finally adopted on June 9th, 2015, in and by the Borough of Bloomingdale.
Thank you. Now, the next, each has its own resolution, correct? Jane?
We can do it
You can, as a group, you can.
One resolution?
Yeah.
Or do you want 6 through 12?
We just do one motion.
You could do one motion for all.
But each one has its own number.
Yes, yes.
Right, that's what I want to clarify. So I need a motion to adopt resolutions 8.6 through 8.12, which are simply tax office resolutions, court refunds, and tax lien certificates. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Della Ripa.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Sandemeyer.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Okay. We had one non-agenda item. We had two of the pipeline we've already taken care of. The next one is, I need a motion to approve the renewal of Fireman Inc., Bloomingdale Fireman Department Incorporated, liquor license for Fireman's Hall. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Can you just mention on the record that the fire department, the hall, is not borough property whatsoever?
Right.
So they had a letter, anonymous letter came to a couple of members of the council
Right.
about things going on over there, and I can't respond because there's nobody to respond back to, but I want that person to know that the fire department has all right and says over the hall and what they do in that hall. The borough has nothing.
And I'm glad you brought that up. As Councilman said, we received an anonymous letter about activity, use of, the facility, assuming that this person who wrote the letter was assuming it was taxpayer money funding that building. And no taxpayer money funds that building. The Fire Department, Inc. pays their own electric, pays their own water, decides the usage, the rentals, runs their beefsteaks. It has nothing to do with the municipal budget. Now, the Fire Department, for public protection and safety, different story. We have a budget for their radios, for their equipment, for their, everything they need to protect our borough, two different entities. So, very important. What we're doing here is renewing the license like we would for a liquor store, like we would for a tavern in town. No difference. But I hope that gets out there because there is a resident assuming otherwise. And we can't respond because it was anonymous. But thank you, Mike. It's very important. Do we have a second on that?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
I'm abstaining. Just-
Abstain.
All in favor? Everyone except abstentions from members of Dawn and John.
I think that they're technically recusals.
They're recusals,
Yes.
recusing from it. Good.
Is Dawn included in that? Because she's technically,
Women's auxiliary?
that's not part of the hall.
No,
It's
no, actually, I
Three votes
have to
redo
do
it.
this?
We,
I'm sorry, what was your question?
You're not attached to the hall.
Women's auxiliary is not
I am
part of it.
attached to the hall. I am.
Let's just clean it that way.
So, yeah.
3 votes renewed the license, so we're good. Okay.
all right, 3 out of 5.
Everyone good? I need a motion to open late public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak, please come up, state your name and address for the record.
Linda Shortman, 2 West Shore Road. My question has to do with the website, the minutes and the videos. It just seems like It takes forever. There's no June up yet.
Well, I'm sorry, first we're talking about minutes or video?
Minutes and video.
Let's talk about minutes first. So, the minutes are on?
They're on after they're approved.
Once they're
Is
approved.
June wasn't approved yet?
I think it should be on. It should be on.
Well, I looked before I came. There was nothing for
I'll check
June.
tomorrow, but
I
they
see
should
you
be on.
approved the only meeting in July tonight.
Right.
June should be on, but I will check.
Check that for me.
Because normally, we
They
would,
go on after they're approved.
like in
the next
August, we
day.
just approved July's
Right.
minutes,
Right.
which is actually pretty good. I mean,
Oh,
there's been times in the past,
Yeah.
long time
I
ago,
will check
before
June. They should be on.
there was a
I don't know
year,
why
8
it's
months.
not on.
Videos. I'll defer to Rich.
Yes, the first meeting in June has an audio problem. I need to get with, I need to get another copy of the audio from the official record.
Okay.
And that kind of delayed me working on the other June because I
Okay.
like to process them in order. But there seemed to be something, the video seems I have to re-extract it.
Okay.
So there's been technical issues with both videos in June.
July also?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's the second one, I'm
July,
sorry.
we had one meeting.
No, the first one in June should be fine. Is that not on there?
I
I'll-
have not seen any in
I'll
June.
double check then, because I know I know I'm two behind, one of which has an audio problem. That's the second, I guess it would be the second one in June. And I was just looking at the July one today, and I need to figure out what's going on with that. That one has audio, but the video is totally frozen.
Okay.
So,
Again.
I'll double check if
But you have all the audio for July.
we always have audio, because there's another copy, there's the
Right.
official copy, which I can always fall back to.
Okay.
It's possible that sometimes I process them, but I forget to put the link on the website to because they're actually stored on YouTube. So I'll double check and make sure that link's there.
Okay, thank you. The other general question I had, it's been like a year or so that King's Corner has been looking like it might open, and the craft beer, it was like a year and a half ago they were talking about opening.
Well,
What's
again,
happening with
well,
those
they're
businesses?
again, I'm asked that question a lot, and it's a little frustrating because they're private entities, they're private businesses, and the borough can only go through the process of approving something like they did on the brew pub that's to open eventually, and there was no planning board process for the new Quick Mart because that was just pulling permits through the construction because there was no change of use. I can't control, same as the fish and chip place, I can't control when they're going to finally open.
Okay.
But I will assure you, as slow as it may appear, the brew pub is slowly working.
I think they got furniture
I
delivered.
just, he had some, his
Are
whole.
they waiting for licensing or anything?
No, he's fine there. The longest part of his process was county, going in front of the county planning board.
Oh,
And because it's on a county road, he had some issues with egress and whatnot. So he's fine. Again, they're private businesses. I can't make them move. That's their call, what they want to do, how they want to do it, when they want to do it. But it will happen. The mini mart, I just noticed recently more action. Like the
Yeah.
deliveries are coming, and they fixed the facade, front facade. So again,
do you know
the
if that
question is
business
to
was
go to the business
sold?
owners and say,
Was that business sold, or are they just leasing it from the owner?
I have no idea.
You don't know?
Don't know.
Okay, my other comment is, I think one of the shames of Bloomingdale is this CO process. I know you had something about it on the agenda
Yeah, we made it
tonight.
cash for certified money only.
Okay, 2 years ago,
I know.
I was here
Your favorite.
before you,
Yes.
talking about a person who walked in a house and said, "This is a nice house, fine," and walked out. Last meeting I attended, Mr. Miller had the same comment about a property they sold.
And when you served on the council, that was a big concern of yours. You were on the council when you had that issue, because you sat down with me and the former administrator and that department head, the person who does the CCO. We had that meeting about what transpires. You were there. You were part of that meeting with me.
So,
And well, I thought we left there with a resolve that they're doing their job.
well,
the big-
obviously, they're not doing
What's
their
that?
job.
But see, no, I respectfully disagree with you because they're there, they're doing a CCO, inspecting smoke alarms, fire extinguishers, carbon monoxide detectors, whatever the rules are, and they are doing their job. So do not sit here on the public record and say they're not doing their
They
job. Number
walk
one. Number two,
in
let me
and
finish.
2 minutes walk
Number
out?
two, again, did you witness that yourself?
Yes,
You witnessed, you were in the house
Yes, I
when someone
did.
walked in 2 minutes?
yes.
Okay. And then we had a meeting, because you were on the council at the time, and
No, this was 2 years ago. I was not on the
your
council.
first issue with this, you were on the council, and we dealt
Well,
with
let's
it.
go back to when I first
Okay,
actually
all I
saw
can
this
tell you-
happen.
All I can tell you is, we have, by the department head and the inspector, been assured from your inquiries that the job is being done properly. They're inspecting
Well,
what they need.
obviously it isn't.
Again, I'm just telling you, from internally, it is. You're telling me that so-and-so told you it wasn't. I can't help you.
No. 2 years ago, I witnessed this, and it was appalling to see somebody walk in and charge them $200. A former borough officials told me personally, "We don't really care, they're leaving town." That was his quote to me. Okay,
Keyword
then I
former.
sat here, forgot all about it, thought after talking to the official that it was being, the person was talked to and said, go downstairs and look at the fire alarms, check that they have this stuff. Last meeting, Jack came in here to say the same
Jack
thing,
had an
and I
issue-
had
no,
never
Jack
talked
had
to
an
him
issue, 'cause
about
I
it.
spoke to him privately after the meeting, had an issue with the cost. He had an issue with the $200, not that it wasn't being done properly.
That isn't what he said on the record.
Again, we can ask Mr. Miller when he's back, but I will assure you it's being done, number one, and number two, one of the most important things that come out of CCOs, besides fire protection, carbon monoxide, and the obvious, is finding the illegal basements, finding the unpermitted work done in a house. That happens often, which is only good for the borough to fix and get it under control,
Do you know
especially
how often that's
legal
happened
living quarters.
in the last year? Do you know how often they found illegal
I can get you
houses?
construction reports and give you exact numbers. Sure,
Well-
do off the top of my head? No, I do not. But that's an important part of the inspection, is finding basements.
It would be if they
that are
walked
finished,
around
or
and saw
basements
that
with
there
a
was an
kitchen.
apartment in a basement. They never did.
I respect your comments.
I'm going to start checking on this. And I'll get to you on how many illegal apartments they found. Because you're right, we did discuss that, and we thought that was a great idea. But do more than walk in the front door.
Linda, the June 23rd minutes are online. June, you were asking about?
Right.
They are there.
And-
I'm looking right now.
Okay, there's no video? There's just the minutes?
No, there wouldn't be a video.
No, there's no
No.
video.
Were there 2 meetings in June?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not sure unless I'm missing it. Maybe the June 9th meeting, I'm not sure is there or not, but the June 23rd is
Okay,
there.
thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, please? Yeah. Sorry.
Well, unfortunately, I was not able to download the 2014
I'm so
budget.
disappointed.
I'm sure, but I will discuss it at the next meeting. But what I would like to understand is, in your authorization to rebid the Dodge Ram DPW truck,
Okay.
why do you have to have a specific Dodge truck?
Well, I go by the request, the bid is not specific, the bid says Dodge Ram 3500
Why
or
does it have to-
equivalent.
Okay.
The bid has to say that, because
But
we
that's not
can't.
what you said.
Well, again, no, you asked me, why do we have to have a specific
Well,
truck?
I wrote down exactly what
That's
you
what we
said.
want to have, but the bid spec says or equivalent. So if someone bids a Ford and all the specs are the same, engine size and the like, then it's something we review, as far as awarding that bid. I go by the recommendation of my mechanic. My DPW mechanic prefers the Dodge vehicle, from service aspect, for just all the reasons that our fleet is pretty much all Dodge now. So that's why we're trying to go bid, because there's no Dodge currently on state contract of that size vehicle. I believe, again, 3,500 is a 3,500 on state contract, where we could just go buy it and wait a year for it. We're hoping, because I want it for the winter, because our other ones are dead, that we can get this through bid for a very competitive price, because it's on the lot of a dealer, and have it before the winter.
So it's on the lot of a specific dealer.
I don't know, I'm just saying that's what we're hoping, but that's what bids usually work that way. Where a state contract, we just got our ACO vehicle last week after a year. It's ridiculous when you go through state contract, the time you wait. When you see them drive on the highway, you see these vehicles on the lot. But bidding is difficult for these, they have to do a bond, they have to do all the bells and whistles to bid. So I just think we only one person pulled it, no one bid, and I'm hoping we get more just because of the time of the year. No one was looking, I'm not sure.
But it does specifically say or equivalent,
Yeah,
not just
absolutely. The bid
Dodge.
spec says or equivalent, absolutely. Yep. Thank you. Anyone else, please? Yes, sir.
Dan Hawkins, 6 Pearl Street. I'd like to follow up regarding the construction, the CCO.
Yes.
I know for a fact that it wasn't done properly when I bought my house because it didn't have the fire extinguisher that's required. So
And when did you buy your house?
2006.
Okay, I don't know when the CCO
Yes,
ordinance
it was
went on the
required.
books. Yeah?
Trust
I'm
me.
not sure.
I'm in the business.
Before my time. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I would appreciate when something like that happens, you don't wait till a meeting 9 years later to tell me about it.
Well, I'm just saying that as
Well, it's
as an instance of that happening. Secondly, it seems a little inverted. You're charging residents $200, businesses $100. When you look at an industrial location or business location, you can have far more complicated systems to investigate than you will for typical residential. All right. And if you're charging $200, you should get $200 worth of service. I'm a licensed professional engineer in New Jersey. You hire my company, you can get me for $150 an hour. So you get an hour of my time for that cost. So that's just what
Again,
I'm
I'll
saying.
bring these concerns to the appropriate department and review it.
Thank you for your
Thank
consideration.
Thanks, Dan. Anyone else, please? Seeing no one, motion to close.
So moved. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we do have an executive session with 2 matters personnel, 2 matters attorney-client privilege, any consideration of action on executive business. Public will be allowed to comment. Work session will be September 8th, candlelight walk 9/11, and our regular meeting for September is 9/22. I would ask for a motion to go into executive with a 5-minute recess. Who makes that motion?
One more thing.
Yes.
I saw in the reports that the water department is starting hydrant flushing.
Yes, that was part of your reports. Everyone's been copied. It's on Facebook.
Okay.
The department hydrant flushing schedule is out there and posted
Sorry.
where it needs to be. No, thank you. I meant to mention that. It was in the report section. I'm sorry.
So moved.
Do I have a motion by Rich? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, 5-minute recess, and we'll resume an exec session.